Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast. In the grand theatre of power, charismatic authority is both the spark and the inferno, a force that ignites movements, consumes institutions, and leaves behind either renewal or ruin. It is the anomaly in the architecture of control, neither anchored in tradition nor bound by bureaucratic rationality. Instead, it flourishes in the realm of myth, where perception transcends policy and belief molds reality. It is a power that asks for faith, demands surrender, and rewards with transformation or devastation. Unlike traditional authority, which derives legitimacy from custom, or rational legal authority, which is codified into systems, charismatic authority exists in the space between certainty and chaos. It is the force that disrupts inertia, the leader who emerges when established structures crumble, the voice that fills the void, uncertainty with conviction. From the prophetic vision of Joan of Arc to the revolutionary charisma of Che Guevara, history is shaped as much by those who defy institutions as by those who uphold them. The charismatic leader is not merely a figure of influence. They are the embodiment of a collective longing, a living manifestation of ideals that feel unreachable without their presence. Weber, in his seminal work on authority, framed charisma as a force distinct from the stabilizing powers of tradition and bureaucracy. But beyond Weber's classification, charisma is also existential. It is born in the space where doubt flourishes. Kierkegaard's leap of faith finds its parallel here. In moments of societal uncertainty, followers do not merely support a leader, they place their very sense of meaning in them. This is why charismatic authority thrives in times of crisis, why revolutions are often led not by institutions but by individuals who seem to offer something beyond politics, beyond reason, a promise of destiny itself. Yet, for all its power, charisma is the most fragile form of authority. Unlike a monarchy, which can pass from ruler to heir, or a legal system which is upheld by institutions, charisma is bound to the individual. It is not inherited, it cannot be legislated into continuity. The moment belief wavers, the illusion cracks. The charismatic leader must continuously reaffirm their exceptionality, must constantly prove that they are more than ordinary. If they falter, if they show weakness, if their myth begins to unravel, the foundation of their power collapses. This inherent instability is why so many charismatic movements dissolve upon the death or decline of their leader. The French Revolution, in its early days, was propelled by figures like Robespierre, who wielded charisma to unite and radicalize the masses. But when his authority waned, the guillotine turned on him. Similarly, the cult of personality surrounding Mao Zedong maintained its potency while he lived, but after his death, China underwent dramatic structural shifts to stabilize governance. The same pattern is evident in religious movements, where a charismatic prophet's death often leads to either institutionalization or fragmentation. Christianity, for example, survived because it transitioned from Jesus's personal charisma to an organized church, whereas countless other spiritual movements faded without a structure to sustain them. Modern charisma, however, has evolved beyond physical presence. In an era where algorithms dictate influence, where social media amplifies voices into digital pulpits, charisma is no longer confined to those who can command a room. It belongs to those who can command attention. The internet has made charisma both more powerful and more precarious. A leader today can cultivate a following of millions without ever standing before a crowd, yet they are also at the mercy of the digital cycle of virality and cancellation. Charisma in the age of surveillance capitalism is engineered, commodified, and measured in engagement metrics. Platforms like Twitter and TikTok do not merely host charismatic figures, they manufacture them. This shift raises profound ethical questions. If charisma can be fabricated through media strategies, does it retain the same weight? If authority is based on perception, does it matter whether the leader is genuine? The philosopher Hannah Arendt warned against the seductive nature of authority that masks its true intent. In her analysis of totalitarianism, she described how charisma can be weaponized, how belief in a leader can override moral judgment, how devotion can turn into complicity. This is the darker side of charismatic authority, the moment when it ceases to inspire and begins to demand unquestioning loyalty. Yet charisma is not inherently destructive. It has also been a force for extraordinary change. Nelson Mandela wielded charisma to unite a fractured South Africa. Malala Yousafzai channels it to advocate for education. Greta Thunberg mobilizes global movements through the sheer force of presence and conviction. The difference between transformational and manipulative charisma lies in one fundamental aspect: whether the leader empowers or enslaves, whether they awaken critical thought or demand blind allegiance. But the true enigma of charisma is not in the leader, it is in the followers. Charisma is not a solitary force, it is a relationship. It is not simply about a person being extraordinary, but about people needing them to be extraordinary. Gustave Le Bon's The Crowd explored how individuals, when part of a mass movement, relinquish personal judgment in favour of collective identity. Erich Fromm's Escape from Freedom argued that in times of uncertainty, people often seek not autonomy but submission, finding comfort in the certainty of a leader's vision. Charisma, then, is a mirror. It reflects not just the leader's power, but the fears, desires, and aspirations of the society that elevates them. It is an alchemy of projection and belief, where followers see in their leader not just a person, but a vessel for their unspoken hopes and unfulfilled ambitions. A charismatic leader does not impose meaning, they absorb it. They become a symbol onto which the masses can imprint their longing for justice, for salvation, for purpose. In this way, charisma is both a revelation and a deception. It tells us what we yearn for, but also reveals how easily we surrender to the illusion of certainty. This dynamic between leader and follower is what makes charisma so potent yet volatile. It thrives on emotion rather than structure, on conviction rather than logic. Unlike institutions which derive stability from rules and procedures, charismatic authority must be continually renewed through spectacle, reaffirmation, and performance. Every speech, every gesture, every act of defiance or grace contributes to the mythos. And yet, this same dependence on perception is what makes it fragile. The moment doubt seeps into the collective belief, the very foundation of charisma begins to erode. History offers countless examples of this collapse. When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he embodied Rome's longing for order amidst chaos, his charisma turning republic into empire. But when his assassination shattered that image, Rome was plunged into civil war. When Napoleon stood victorious, he symbolized the triumph of the self-made man. But when he faltered at Waterloo, the illusion of his invincibility crumbled. Even in the modern era, political figures, revolutionaries, and cultural icons who once commanded unshakable loyalty have found their influence vanish in an instant, brought down not by force but by the evaporation of belief. And yet, charisma is never truly extinguished, it merely transfers. When one figure falls, another rises. The need for charismatic leadership is not bound to any single moment in history. It is a perennial force, resurfacing whenever uncertainty grips society. In times of peace and stability, bureaucratic and rational legal authority holds sway, but in moments of crisis, charisma surges back into relevance. It is the answer to uncertainty, the antidote to fear, the promise that amidst disorder there exists someone who knows, someone who can lead, who can inspire, who can make sense of the chaos. But herein lies the danger. If charisma is a response to uncertainty, then the more destabilized a society becomes, the more it craves a figure to rally behind. And when desperation takes hold, when people seek security over scrutiny, when they desire belonging over critical thought, charisma can become a weapon rather than a beacon. This is the crossroads at which civilizations stand again and again, whether to harness charisma as a force for collective empowerment or to succumb to its capacity for manipulation. Charismatic authority, then, is both a gift and a warning. It is the force that ignites revolutions and the spell that enables demagogues. It is the voice that awakens the conscience of a generation and the illusion that blinds them to their own agency. In an age where digital platforms manufacture influence, where algorithms amplify leaders into messiahs or villains overnight, the responsibility of discernment has never been greater. The question is no longer just about the leader, it is about us, about what we choose to believe, what we choose to follow, and whether we have the courage to question the figures we elevate. Charisma is the eternal dance of fire and ash. It is the flame that lights the way forward and the ember that burns all it touches. In an era where screens amplify whispers into thunder, we stand at a crossroads. Will we wield this power to illuminate or incinerate? The answer lies not in the leader, but in the led, in our courage to question the light, to distinguish warmth from wildfire, and to remember that even the brightest blaze depends on the oxygen we choose to give it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Deeper Thinking Podcast, an audio essay read by me, Holly, your digital narrator. To learn more about the subjects covered today, check out the links in the show notes. Until next time.